They made a deal with the Valuard, or as I've always known him, the Doctor, to adjust the evidence. In return for which, he was promised the remainder of the Doctor's regeneration.
This is clear.
Just a minute! Did you call him...
My name is Christian Basel. Years ago, I had an idea. I got myself a TARDIS. Took it to new places, met a lot of new people, took some great pictures, and talked Doctor Who. From Krypton Radio and the creators of the Hanging With web show, this is the legend of the Traveling Tardis. Join me on my latest adventures and become part of the legend. And I left the brakes on again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS radio show. My name is Christian Basel. For those of you just joining us on iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, wherever in the known Whoniverse and universe of internet social media, thank you for joining us once again. We have a very special episode that's going to start an entire series that I've been wanting to do this for the very, very long time. For those of you who are especially known in the classic Who, we're going to start what we call the Renegade series. That's going to be Time Lords that have been in the classic series, but didn't make their way into New Who, and for whatever reason why. We're going to be asking the hard questions about these characters, and we're going to start off with the Valyard. We're going to be also diving into the Ronnie, Romana. Oh, yeah, and Charles, we're going to talk about Drax, too. I'm bringing him into this mix as well. So we're going to be talking about the Monk, all these guys. But we're going to start off the series with the Valyard. And for those of you who may not be familiar with the Valyard, we'll talk about him just in a little bit for all those people who started. But first, we're going to start off with the Who Knew News with Dr. Freedom. Wait a minute. Guys, where's Sage?
Sage is currently on assignment on Raxacorica Phalabatorius about the Slovene migration.
You just made that up on the spot, didn't you?
Actually, I did, yeah, but
Okay.
they're a bunch of farts anyway.
Well, there goes anything. We're going to be starting the Who Knew News with Brian Burress, but you know him on YouTube as Dr. Freedom. Take it away, Dr. Freedom!
Okay, according to my friend Minnesota Gallifrey, and he just passed me an article from Disney.co.uk. Now, listen to this very closely, folks. This is from Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. Joining the cast of Episode 9 are the following: Naomi Ackie, Richard E. Grant. That name sound familiar? It should. Kerry Russell. But here's the one that's the big trifecta, Matt Smith. So it appears Matt and them were lying, and that, yes, he is apparently has some role in the upcoming Episode 9.
Steven.
It's kind of weird, because for a while they were denying it so hardcore. But
Which is always a sign.
yes, it's a sign. Okay, next up.
Wait. You know my fear about this, and I think I've talked to you before. They're going to go Terminator on Matt Smith. They're going to bring him in until like the last 5 minutes, make him a silhouette, and then every Whovian's going to be like, what? That's my biggest fear about this whole thing.
As long as he doesn't turn up to be like, Kylo Ren's shoe polisher or something like that.
Now they're in the middle of the final battle, and then all of a sudden you hear this wheezing, groaning, grinding sound. And to be continued.
That's just me getting out of bed. Anyway, Dr. Freedom, what's the next?
Okay, over on the Radio Times, did you spot the surprise Doctor Who connection in Avengers Endgame? So we might have a slight bit of spoiler territory here, so you might want to stick your fingers in your ears and go la 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 for about 20 seconds. Okay, now remember, in the first movie, Avengers Infinity War, we had Spider-Man dissolving into dust, saying the infamous line, "I don't want to go." Oh, remember the stir that caused. But now, in the latest movie, while they're discussing their quote-unquote plan that involves, descriptions of things from like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure all the way up to Back to the Future, they refer to the plan as the Time Heist.
Ooh.
Rather unusual because, it's that they've popped that title into there. And I found that rather unusual when I watched the movie, that they'd use that particular moniker, kind of like, was somebody thinking a little something on the inside there? We don't know. Okay, anything? All right, let's move on.
Well,
okay.
I was going to say this. This is what, and Gary, this is what I was hoping against hope for for Endgame. Because I threw out this theory, and I wanted to do this, Charles, for the longest time. I was hoping against hope. Everybody was talking about the time travel and how Captain Marvel did everything. And if you noticed that technically Doctor Who is Marvel.
Yes.
Doctor Who does fall in Marvel. Plus, Jodie Whittaker took a year off. So I was trying to put this equation together. I was like, are you really going to do that? It didn't work. Backfired all the time. So, sorry.
Now,
go ahead, Dr. Freedom. My hopes were blown.
Now, you got to remember, everything belongs to the mouse except the BBC, but it will happen.
It's a matter of time.
Yep. Okay, Hootopia issue 34 is out. The latest issue of the long-running fan magazine Hootopia has just been released. Issue number 34 has a lot of different things in it, and if you wish to look this up for yourself, it is available for free in the PDF format from the Hootopia website, which, if I remember correctly, is www.hootopia.ca.
That's right. It's from Canada.
Yes, Canada.
It's a whole nother country.
Now, this one, but Canada doesn't count because it's like attached. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, anybody remember that movie? Okay. Now, this is the one that really knocked my socks off. William Russell is going to star in a Brazilian movie with his son, Alfred Enoch. Now, apparently the name of the movie is Medida Provisória, which is provisional measure in English. Now, here's this guy, he's in his mid-90s, and he's still out there, doing movies and stuff. You got to give him, a credit for that.
Amazingly, this is the first time that he and his son have worked together professionally.
Mm-hmm. So very, very cool that he's still out there and he's still kicking it. William Russell, Chatterton, Chatterbox, whatever William Hartnell wanted to call him that week.
Chesterfield.
Chesterfield. Yeah, there we go.
Chester something. But it's just thinking to myself that William Russell probably does bathe in the blood of virgins and politicians, because he's got. I bet he will be around longer than the Roaches and us after the nuclear war hits.
Yeah.
He will still be making movies. I think he is awesome.
Some background here.
It's either that or that same stuff Keith Richards has been using.
A little background here. William Russell's wife is from Brazil.
Yes.
Therefore, Alfred is half Brazilian, and they go down there at least once a year. So I'm not surprised that this movie opportunity happened for him there.
Yeah.
Well, here's the scary part, and tell me if I'm wrong. The last couple of pictures I've seen of William Russell, he looks like Bob Barker. And if you notice, Bob Barker and William Russell are never in the same room together. So just the theory I'm throwing out there.
Very interesting.
It's just a theory. I'm not
somebody obviously he bid correctly to get this part in the movie.
Yeah, look at how long they were playing The Time Is Right. London, 1965. Okay, and lastly, Lethbridge Stewart, Travers and Wells. Candy Jar Books have announced the paperback release of the novella Travers and Wells as it launches the new spin-off series of books featuring the characters of Professor Edward Travers and H.G. Wells on their travels across parallel worlds en route to the alien world of Carful. Name sound familiar? Where the Dominator fleet is about to attack. And this is out on the Candy Jar Books website. If you wish to go check this out, boom, there you go.
Some very nice writing over there.
From what I've seen and heard, it's pretty good stuff. I haven't checked it out myself, but I've been looking to. So
yeah,
that's some serious stuff.
That's all I have currently for the Who Knew News.
Well, I'm going to actually tag on one Who Knew News. It has nothing to do with Doctor Who. It's a lot about geekdom, and it's two of my favorite things put together with a third on there. It's
peanut
Disney.
Butter and chocolate.
You're heading in the right spot. You're getting in the right spot, but not necessarily. It's Disney and churros and Star Wars. They're actually going to make, or at least from Insider.com, they're going to make lightsaber churros, and I don't care. I don't care. Judge me. I don't care. I'm going to buy them. I don't care if they cost a little bit more. That is just my weakness, my Achilles heel. If you have me like a churro, I'll be dragging around like a dog.
I believe they're blue and red churros.
Yes,
yeah, I was going to ask, are they going to color them?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I think
interesting.
So it's fused with the Force and loaded with cancer.
Yeah.
Churros.
Nice. Well, folks, before we go on break and we talk about our topic today with the Valuard, let me introduce the team. Where are my manners? I didn't even get that far into the conversation. Speaking of which, Brian Burress, you know him as Dr. Freedom on YouTube. How you doing there, Brian?
Hanging in there. How about you, Christian?
Not bad there, sir. You want to catch this man out here. He knows his Doctor Who more than me, and that says a lot. I'm talking about Mr. Charles Martin. He is with the Space Javelin podcast. How you doing there, Charles?
Yes, news for nerds. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's really, really nice to be on The Legend at last.
Thank you. I'm glad to have you. I've always wanted. I love geeking out with you at conventions and such like that.
Indeed.
And we have a new guest as well. We have, speaking of nerds, we have Gary. I'm going to pronounce it wrong, and I always hear it on YouTube. It's Gary Buechler.
Buechler. It's okay. It's okay. Nobody gets it right.
Gary
I would
Buechler.
never.
I just think Buechler. Gary Buechler of Nerdrotic.com. How you doing there, Gary? And you're on the California coast as well as Charles.
I am in San Francisco, and thank you for having me on. It is a great pleasure.
No,
Pacific time rules.
So you and Charles and me and Brian. You're in the middle, right?
What? Where am I? Oh, I'm in Ohio.
You're in Ohio, yeah. So you're in the middle. So we're kind of the time frame. If you've ever had to book guests on this show, like I've done in the past, to deal with that 5-hour time frame in the UK is insane. Mm-hmm. I've had a guest who said, "Oh yeah, I'll do it your time," and it was like 3 a.m. my time, and it's like, "Oh, that's all I got to give you." I'm like, "Oh god." So totally worth it. But I mean, like, with the celebrities come up, it's just like, I'm just like, "Oh, look, vapor trails." I'm watching myself leave the room as I'm coming in the next day.
Pardon me as I prepare a preparatory nap.
Well, gentlemen, we're going to get back. We're going to talk commercial debate. We're going to.
It's the words he has trouble with.
Yes. Just shoot me now. We're going to talk about the Valuard. We're going to do our Traveling Tardis. I know Gary and Charles are kind of new to this rating program, and we're going to talk about the Valuard and more mysterious about the Time Lord himself. When we return, become part of the legend of the Traveling Tardis.
Colliding Skies by author Debbie Zakin. For as long as Sky Riley can remember, she has been gazing up at the stars. With high school graduation upon her, her telescope in one hand, and her college acceptance letter in the other, her life is meticulously mapped out like a star chart. That is, until the Celians arrive and she meets Ethan, an alien whose electrifying touch could stop the very heart she has given him. Ethan and Sky collide like asteroids, causing a gravitational shift in Sky's trajectory, and hurling the star-crossed lovers into an interplanetary maelstrom. Get Colliding Skies by author Debbie Zakin today at Amazon.com or wherever online books are sold.
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics.
Hello there, my name is John Davey, and I have been in 43 episodes of Doctor Who, playing many of the monsters, such as Cybermen, Daleks, and the Ood, and you are listening to The Legend of the Traveling Tardis radio show.
Authors, filmmakers, producers, anybody that has anything to do with creating independent stuff, comic book authors, musicians. Make sure you take advantage of the 2019 Indie Originals Live Talent Competition, going on now at www.indieoriginalslive.com. This is your exclusive opportunity to become an official award-winning independent creator to use that in your marketing. Enter today at www.indieoriginalslive.com.
Are you looking for a used car?
Check out the Public Auto Auction app from CarAuctionNetworks.com.
You can download the app on your phone or tablet and use it for free, and there's no registration required.
You can see what's for sale at car auctions, such as
bank repos,
dealer trade-ins,
surplus government vehicles,
or impounds.
There are plenty of cheap used cars and trucks listed in the app.
You can save a lot of money with Public Auto Auction app.
You can also see and bid at car auctions online.
Get the Public Auto Auction app for iOS at the Apple Store.
Or on Google Play.
Or simply go to CarAuctionNetwork.com.
That's CarAuctionNetwork.com.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Legend of the Traveling Tardis radio show. My name is Christian Basel. I am here with Gary Buechler of Nerdrotic.com. I am here with Charles Martin of the Space Javelin podcast. And I'm here with our returning guest and our favorite man, our favorite doctor in his own right, Dr. Freedom himself, Brian Burress. You can catch him all on YouTube. I think I can catch you on YouTube, right? Isn't that, Charles?
Yeah. No.
Oh.
Space Javelin is on Space Javelin's on SoundCloud and iTunes.
It's like that Sesame Street thing. One of these things is not like the other.
I have a face for radio, so I figure that probably stay off YouTube.
I have a total body for radio, so I join you in that club there. Anyway, the Valeyard. Okay, gentlemen, this is how it works, and Brian is familiar with this. What we're going to do is we're going to rate the Valeyard as a character, 1 being god-awful, 10 being the most awesome character in Doctor Who. If you were to rate the Valeyard as a character, and this is including his time on the Trial of the Time Lord, or any of the Big Finish audios. We're going to start with our new guest. Charles, what would you rate the Valeyard?
This is interesting. That's a really tough question. I'm going to give him a 7. Because the concept of the character is really, really fascinating. It was pretty poorly realized if you just look at the TV show. But if you go beyond the TV show to the novels and the Big Finish audios, he gets really interesting. He's a major, major influence on the entire Virgin novel series.
What you've read, and I think I don't know if I speak for the other 3. I have not read any of the Virgin novels. Mm-hmm. I'm with the Big Finish audios there. Mm-hmm. But Gary, how would you rate the Valeyard as a character on Doctor Who 1 through 10?
Oh, I'm going to go with God. This is going to be mixed in a little bit, but I'm going to go with 8. And right there with the concept is a 10 to me, and it's just hasn't been fully realized yet. Of course, Big Finish, what I have listened to Big Finish has been a great improvement on it. I was just listening to some prior to the show, just to get prepped up. And yeah, I think, and it's probably that high because I get expectations, and he's built up in my mind. And I have so many theories about it, and I was really hoping they would bring him back, and they never did yet. Well, at least on the show. I'm talking about on the new show. Yeah. So 8. I say 8.
8. Dr. Freedom, what would you rate him?
I was going to give him about a 7 myself because, even though he appeared in the classic series, as you just mentioned, they've never brought him back in the new series, but they've really built on that character in little places here and there on Big Finish. But, it's something we all want to see, the dark side. It's always something that intrigues us. So, yeah, I'd say about a 7 out of 10, yeah.
7 out of 10. See, I guess I'm biased because I've actually talked to and experienced Michael Jason. Yeah. I give him a 10.
Yeah.
Cool. And I think
Michael gets a 10, definitely.
10. Yeah. Michael as a human being gets a 10, and he's at that age right now. He's like my dad, where he can say about anything, and it's the most really not PC thing in the room, but it's Michael Jason. You just leave it alone. if Charles, you can speak for me. If you've ever experienced Michael Jason and how he is just open about things, including Colin, you're like, wow, okay, you really got an opinion about things there.
He's at the I don't give a toss anymore.
Exactly. Age. He's got that age. It's like, what are you going to do? I'm done here. But just for folks who may not be familiar, who started with Doctor Who in the new reboot, and I apologize if we haven't clarified it yet. So let me give you a little background. 1986 was a very turbulent year for Doctor Who. In fact, its future was really on trial, and it seemed to be an entire series, a whole season called The Trial of the Time Lord, starring Colin Baker. And really, the show was whether they were going to be downgraded, but then you see what I did there, by Michael Grade, who just really wanted to put this show 6 feet under. He thought it was done and finished with. Colin Baker was the 6th Doctor at the time, and there was an entire series. And all we saw at the very beginning was a courtroom with an Inquisitor. All the Time Lords were in the back. What supposedly, I never understand what the physical dimensions of the Matrix are, but I thought the Matrix was in the back. And a gentleman on the other side who was putting the Doctor on trial for his life would be the Valuard. Now, spoiler alert. I'm dead serious, Gary. When I actually talked about survival in one of my panels in South Florida, there was a woman who yelled at me for giving her a spoiler alert.
There's an expiration date on that.
And I was like, you can't tell me what happened. I'm about to watch that season. I'm like, that's 30 years and running. Like,
yeah, that's way past that.
Where's the end of this? So, Charles, we have this person called the Valuard. He shows up, and we know nothing about him. He's just mysterious, and he just seems to be bent on killing the Doctor. And some of the best acting, I think, between Colin Baker and Michael Jason throughout the series, just those two butting heads.
Yeah, just standing in their two respective docks yelling at each other. Yeah.
Exactly.
So good.
Yeah, I mean, it's even more than I consider, people fighting it out, shooting it out, or lightsabers. They were just in verbal fight with each other, and the Inquisitor sitting there and just going like, okay, you boys shut it. So later on, we do find out that the Valuard from the Master, as you heard earlier before, is the 12th and final incarnation of the Doctor.
Well, no, I must correct you.
Okay. This is where
the point of fan contention
here.
On the television series itself, the Master says that he is an amalgam of the Doctor's darker sides that occurs somewhere between the 12th and 13th incarnation. Keyword incarnation there.
Okay. He says 12th and final.
Yeah. Well, you're right. You're correct. You're correct. On the TV show, they said final, 12th and final incarnation, leaving it open. In the novel of The Ultimate Foe, it was 12th and 13th. And then again, in the Eight Doctors, Terrence Dicks said, the character says 12th and 13th. So, yeah. Remember, Doctor wasn't supposed to have any further lives, right? Mm-hmm. So that was a pretty safe place to put it. But I'm glad in the TV show they said 12th and final, because that leaves it wide open now. But, yeah, I think the idea was that the Valyard sort of tracks with the 6th, but he actually comes into being much later on. So
now, here's a bit of trivia, and correct me if I'm wrong, Charles and Brian. And the Trial of the Time Lord at one point did have the series ending, that the Doctor and the Valyard were going to take each other out, and that was the end of the series.
They wrote, in case the BBC could not hold off canceling this thing, they wrote a finale, and it was going to be like that episode of Star Trek where the two Frank Gorshians are wrestling each other throughout eternity, essentially.
Yes, and I'm glad they didn't go that route.
Well, that would have left it open for it to return, but yeah, I'm glad they didn't go that route either.
So coming up into 2005, the reboot happens. Christopher Eccleston takes on the 9th role. The 10th Doctor comes. The 11th Doctor comes, and we hear nothing about the Valyard until the name of the Doctor. And this is the first mention ever in the reboot, and everybody's going like, what? And, of course, the person who mentions it is Richard E. Grant, which geeks me out. I don't know.
I was going to say that's the name of the Doctor. Did you say? Okay, you said
the name of the Doctor. Yeah,
there's the night of the Doctor and the day of the Doctor and the underwear of the Doctor.
The toilet paper of the Doctor. Yeah,
it's like Rassilon. There's a name for everything.
Yes.
So that name is mentioned, and is not again mentioned until Twice Upon a Time.
Correct.
The shadow of the Valyard. It's now the name has kind of lengthened up over here. So
the testimony, the person in Twice Upon a Time is telling the first Doctor that one of his titles will be the Shadow of the Valyard, which of course all previous Doctors are in some way.
Now, here's a question I'm going to pose to you, Brian. What do you think is the Valyard to the Doctor?
Okay, now, as you all know, we all have our own dark sides. And as I said, this was an amalgam of the Doctor's darker tendencies.
Except for me.
So this could go any way. You could say this is some sort of separate entity that comes about because, some channeling of the Doctor's dark side becomes this actually separate person or thing. Or you could just simply say, like I said, in my case, I think, like I said, this is just a theory, so don't go crazy. The reason why they refer to it as the Shadow of the Valyard Twice Upon a Time is maybe that timeline was averted by the fact that the Valyard encountered his younger self all the way back then. Maybe something's happened where, okay, it's not going to happen now, but it could still happen later. But it's been averted for now, but it could just get pushed back. So that's the way I like to think of it. It still could happen.
Okay, good interpretation. Gary, what do you think the Valuard is to the Doctor in your mind?
It is. I like the idea of the dark manifestation of the Doctor, who has lived so long that he's lost count. We don't really get. We hear all the time how old he is, but we're not really sure. Manifest itself. Now, if it's Moffat writing it, it could have been some fleck of something get on, like the Dream Lord, something, fleck of something gets onto the time rotor and it creates a dark side.
Which people thought the Dream Lord was, but go ahead.
I thought so too. I did at the time, but then I realized Stephen Moffat was writing it. Red herring, but but that's what I think it is. I don't think it's just in my opinion anyway. I don't think it's a true regeneration. I think it's a manifestation of something that they've left open and nobody's taken advantage of. That is such a great character. I'm not going to get over that really needs to be brought in to anything right now, anything old being referenced in the new stuff right now would be great and draw me back in. But yeah, that's what I think he is. He's just the dark. If you live that long and you're, in proximity of, the TARDIS and I just think that could definitely play in a dark side. And as you stated, everybody has one, and for it to manifest, it makes logical sense within the Doctor Who universe, which pretty much anything can if you work at it.
Or to quote Batman, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yes. Yeah, good one.
Wow. Good one. Charles, same question to you. What do you think the Valeyard is to the Doctor? And actually, I'm going to give my take. Well, it's my show. I'm going to tell you. But anyway, Charles, go ahead and bring us up to that. What do you think?
Worst roommate ever.
Ate all his food.
Leaves the plates around. Dirty plates, dirty laundry. Gotcha.
Wash the dishes. Doesn't clean the bathroom.
As presented in the Trial of the Time Lord on television, the Valuard is not just an amalgamation, but he's brought into being by the Time Lords to cover up what they've done to Earth. That's why he's the prosecutor. So, but what they didn't know was that he's much more evil than they thought, and so had he been successful, he would have then killed off the Time Lords. And some of the later Big Finish novels kind of explore some of that idea about how awful he is. He goes back into his own time stream and takes several moments throughout the history, like the first Doctor murdering the other Time Lords while he was trying to escape from Gallifrey, or the fourth Doctor actually destroying the Daleks. All of this stuff. He even becomes Jack the Ripper in this novel Matrix. That not my favorite novel, but it's an important one from the point of view of the Valuard. Anyway, once you get into the audios and the novels, he becomes really much more of a fully realized character, and I'm so delighted that Michael has come back and is revoicing the part for Big Finish. It really makes it great. Now, the last place, as far as I know, because Big Finish puts out approximately 400 audios a month,
at least I'm counting.
That's a slow month. The last place we've seen him so far is the Sixth Doctor, The Last Adventure. Yes. And it's really quite complex. It features all of the Sixth Doctor's companions, or at least most of them, and even throws in, other characters who have appeared in Doctor Who. And but at the moment, he's trapped in the Matrix. So it is possible for him to come back. The problem is I don't know that you can bring him back on the TV series, because the Doctor's original timeline got reset. Right. And so essentially, although he carries on, that everything that was supposed to happen prior to Matt Smith being granted that new set of regenerations is unhappened now. Gotcha. So, yeah, that puts the Valuard in a weird place. But he would have been in a weird place anyway, because if he had been successful, the original Doctor's timeline was that he was going to die in his 13th incarnation, which was Matt Smith.
Right.
So Doctor dies, and the Valuard's still out there somewhere.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to give everybody my take, but we're on a hard break, so you're going to have to keep on listening and return to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. When we return, Continue to listen to become part of the legend.
Now on Amazon.com, iCoin from author Jeremy Mosby. It's an alternate reality, and the leader of the planet iCoin is none other than Benjamin Franklin. When corrupt officials threaten not only iCoin but the Earth as well, an unlikely chosen one must face dark foes to save the Earth and iCoin alike. Author Jeremy Mosby takes readers on a superhero's adventure through this compelling and imaginative alternate universe. Get iCoin on Amazon.com today.
You have more options than ever before when choosing a film, a television or internet series, a book to curl up with, or even a radio show or podcast. Get to know the people who are creating for you. The Hangin' With Web Show, hosted by award-winning author and journalist G.W. Pomacher, is the internet's fastest growing web talk show series. The Hangin' With Web Show features professional, yet casual, in-depth interviews with creative arts and entertainment pros. Meet the people behind a digital revolution in creating more quality content than ever before in the history of media. Find the Hangin' With Web Show on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, or simply go to www.hanginwithshow.com. That's www.hanginwithshow.com.
Hello, I'm Nick Briggs, executive producer of Big Finish Productions and voice of the Daleks and lots of other Doctor Who monsters, and you're listening to the Legend of the Traveling Tardis radio show. Oh yes.
Best-selling and award-winning author of true crime and crime fiction, Yvonne Mason is back with a brand new book, The Pink Canary, a book that delves into the life of a drag queen and a marvelous whodunit. You can find this and all of Yvonne's other works on Amazon.com. Or find Yvonne Mason on Facebook and Twitter.
He's gonna kill me.
Buy your copy of Pink Canary now.
It's Germany, 1938. Charlotte is a 15-year-old girl living in the Jewish quarter. George lives in the city proper, and enamored by Charlotte's charm and grace when she wanders into his cobbler shop, George decides right then and there that he is going to marry her. Follow along as this unlikely couple struggles to stay one step ahead of the Gestapo and their dramatic escape from Nazi Germany. Good things always happen in springtime, from author Joanne Fisher on Amazon.com today.
The Rite of Wands by Mackenzie Floor. One boy, one rite, and a world of deadly secrets that could change history forever. It's time for The Rite of Wands by Mackenzie Floor. When a horrible fate reveals itself during the Rite of Wands ceremony, Mirta must find a way to change his destiny. Forbidden from revealing the future, he is granted a wand and magical powers in order to save himself and those he loves. But Mirta is not the only one with secrets. The Rite of Wands by Mackenzie Floor, available on Amazon.com now.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling Tardis radio show. We want to thank all of you who help our sponsors out, because we can't do this show without you. You just hear me just talking all day with garbling nonsense about Doctor Who. Please support our sponsors, including our friend Mackenzie Floor. She's one of our panelists to come out over here. The Rite of Wands, check her out. That book is excellent. A lot of people who have that I've talked to have read it. Have you guys read it, the Hanging With team? Has anybody read the book yet? No?
No, but it does sound very intriguing.
Yes. Okay. Well, guys, if you ever get a chance, check it out. It's from Mackenzie Floor, The Rite of Wands. And if you do get a book, please do so and tell her the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS sent you. Now, what you really listen for is my take.
I can actually hear you rubbing your hands together.
We did it again. The Valuard. And this is actually going to be, I'm taking my what's the word I'm looking for? I'm taking my cue from none other than a former president, George W. Bush.
Oh, so you're the Valyard. Is that what you're trying to do?
Wait a minute.
That's a big spoiler?
You know what? I don't want to get political. It's not that kind of show. We just talk Doctor Who and have some fun. But anyway, it was a line that he said. And he was talking about the terrorists. we have to get it 1,000,000 times right, but they only have to get it right once. After I heard that line, I was thinking into the Doctor's subconscious. Because every once in a while, if you notice, especially when it came to Capaldi, when it came to Matt Smith, when it came to David Tennant, and including Christopher Eccleston, I could point out traits that you see where he's drawn the line and he's about to cross it. And for me, I think in his psychosis, he has to get it wrong once, and the Valuard has won.
Yeah.
Or in this case, she. But she... get my pronouns right against you. The Doctor has to have this constant struggle. If you remember that episode with the Ood, where he can hear the music of the Ood, and Donna hears it for the first time, and she just cries in fear. It's just like, I can't take this.
Mm-hmm.
I see the Valuard as that, his Jiminy Cricket, but not the good version of it. That's constantly beckoning in his ear. And all he has to do, or in this case she has to do, is to mess up once, and that Valuard is back. And that's when you said, Gary, that or we were talking about it between his 12th and final incarnation. There is no goalpost. There is no line. It's somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, the Valuard makes a call where he is yelling at in front of the women, in front of the in front of Liz. Was it Liz 10 and Amy in front of the space whale, and he loses his mind and goes like, "I'm going to lose, so I got to kill this whale." Things like that. I think the Valuard makes his move.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we see that the Doctor, especially Capaldi Doctor, but other incarnations as well, are occasionally tortured by their own psyche. So yeah.
Right. So what do you guys think about that take on that?
Time Lord victorious in Waters of Mars. Yeah,
exactly.
That's absolutely.
Yes.
Well, remember the Valuard was supposed to have been created somewhere between David Tennant and Matt Smith, again, original timeline. So that would have been a good spot right there. So yeah.
Yep.
There is a Big Finish audio called Trial of the Valuard, and if I remember it correctly, the Valuard makes some claims that he was actually created by the 13th Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And I always found that very interesting because there isn't supposed to be a 13th Doctor. The Doctor had 13 incarnations. Mm-hmm. So Hartnell first, Matt Smith last, but 13 Doctors is, well, you know, again, I'm counting the War Doctor here who wasn't a doctor, so it gets all complicated.
Yeah.
But can you imagine Jodie, the Sweetness and Light Doctor, creating the Valuard? Can you picture that?
You know what, Carrie?
It would be interesting. It would,
you know what, Carrie? Maybe that's the point. Maybe that's why she walks down the street like Farrell and like, I'm happy, happy, happy. Maybe the other half is coming.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe all the darkness has left her. And
I don't see this. This is the issue I've had for Jodie, and it's not. Gosh, I was talking to Brian earlier about this. I still think the Doctor has PTSD. You don't walk away from a traffic accident, and in this case, the Doctor having so much burden on his and her shoulders. How many civilizations has he endured? Gone. How many companions has he lost? How many lives taken? How many things where he made an attempt and tried so hard and he got thwarted? How many losses? You don't walk away from that. That would be kind of like, and I'm using this as an analogy. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but it's like somebody walking from the Iraqi war after a bombing. You know, there's no way you're
not
probably
the same person anymore.
Exactly.
Right.
And that was shown in Christopher Eccleston when he came back. Yeah, supposedly after the War Doctor, that was the PTSD going in there and going like, forget it, I don't want to deal with this. But he's kind of softened up. But I wish Jodie still had that. But I digress. We're back to the Valuard.
Well, we've got another season coming, so
that's true. That's true. There, Brian. Here's a hard question. Do you think he should come back?
I think there's always room for him because, you know, even though we've gone in a lighter direction and all that, come on, you've got to see a little darkness every now and then. You got to, it's that, you know, little need that you have, you know, to see this, you know, goody two shoes character have to either A, fight with their own conscience, or B, just do something nasty, you know, that really gets you going. So I could see it. It's just, will they actually do it? Don't know. You know, it's just, they've really been kind of keeping the classic series like in a corner these days, you know, where they don't want to go. So I'd like to see it. Yeah.
This is the question I've been having, Gary, and I know when I've been watching Nerdrotic, this is the thing that I've had most challenge with Jodie as the role. And I don't put this all on Jodie. A lot of this I don't put on Jodie. I think it's the direction of where the Chris Chibnall is showrun. I don't see the space god. I saw it in Capaldi. I saw it in, I'm kind of repeating myself, but I saw it in Christopher Eccleston when he's standing up on top of the ledge telling the Nestine consciousness, I am talking. I saw it when he was standing there in front of the TARDIS, in front of the Sycorax, going like, this planet is defended. I saw it with Matt Smith when he's standing in front of the Atraxes going, I'm the Doctor, basically, run. And I kind of finally saw it with Capaldi when he's in the Frontliners going, this planet is protected. And I almost saw it with Jodie in Revolution when she's talking to, was it Len? The human Dalek? When the projection comes up?
Oh, right. Yeah.
But I didn't see it yet. And I need to see that PTSD. I need to know that she feels the pain of the Doctor. Not necessarily herself. I need to see that pain every so often. Or it's not the Doctor for me. Gary, take that away. What do you think?
I totally agree. I think if you even go back prior to the Time Lord, the way the Doctor was played in later, I'll say from Tom Baker on, you always got this feeling. Well, we knew that the Doctor ran away from Gallifrey. All right. So I always got that feeling. I'll keep it to I statements, that the Doctor is running from something within himself, something he's not talking about. He's always he always, and she always seemed like a person who didn't want to talk about what was really on their mind. That's why, getting into adventures, focusing so much on companions and getting away from Gallifrey, I always felt like there was a trauma back there anyway. So that is the worst thing to take away from Doctor Who is the PTSD from the Time War. I thought that was the best concept. That's the reason the show lasted. Eccleston played that. While he's not my favorite Doctor, I still think he put in the best performance. And bringing in the Valeyard into this would be I don't know why they haven't done it. And I'm a fanboy. All right. So I want the Rani. I want Romana. I've wanted Omega. I read every damn theory. I know, right?
You said it 3 different ways and you still got it wrong.
I still got it wrong.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! You should hear me do Game of Thrones. I get everybody's name, but and I read every Reddit theory for like 2 years straight, especially when the 50th anniversary was coming. It's like Omega is coming back, and I loved every bit of it. So I would love to see the Valeyard come back. I think that would, if Chibnall could channel his inner Torchwood. I know they would never go this direction with the show. It's not their intention for it now, but it would go a long way in bringing people back. I don't know if Jodie could pull it off. There are certainly women out there who could pull off the god, the lonely god, that's something that comes through when an actor, a great actor, man or woman, acts with every pore of their being, with their eyebrow hairs act. They move they just immerse
Capaldi.
Especially Capaldi. Right? And with Capaldi, a great example of Capaldi is I hated that choice when I first heard it. I couldn't stand it, and that guy won me over in 10 minutes. I was like, okay, he's great. I was wrong, and that could have happened with Jodie too. I think it'd be a great opportunity. It's a great lost opportunity. And as Doctor Who is kind of bleeding fans right now, unfortunately, it would be great to bring. I think I would go full.
Not really, but go on.
I would dive into the classics at this point. I think that would be go a long way in bringing some people back.
Charles, I'm going to wait, because we're on a hard break, and that's why. But I'm going to drop this question on you. And if you want to respond to Gary, go for it. But here's the question I want you to think on the commercial.
Okay.
Is the Valuard a good retort to Jodie's Doctor? And I'll hold that thought. We're going to go to a commercial break. We're on our break. But when you return, we're going to have Charles and Gary talk it out over there. When we return, please continue to listen and become part of the legend.
From the imagination of author Kevin J. Kessler, the Rosinante dragons are no more. They have fallen into the obscurity of lore. Now warrior Valentine Beret and Seraphina, a magically gifted princess, are on a mission to save the world of Terra. Together they must face the Rosinante legacy and combat the greatest threat their world has ever known. In the end, who is stronger, the man or the dragon? Find out in Kevin J. Kessler's The Rosinante series on Amazon.com today.
Not every phoenix is reborn from the ashes. When dark fairies turn their powers loose in Atlanta, a young water phoenix must overcome her own mistakes to save mankind from wishing itself to Armageddon. Begin Michael J. Allen's epic 5-book series with Ashes of Raging Water, available for a limited time exclusively as a part of the Cursed Lands 20-novel box set, coming May 7th on Amazon, Nook, or Apple Books. Pre-order now for $1 and get 12 free stories as the author's gift to you. Learn more at cursed-lands-boxset.com.
Hello, sweeties. I'm Crystal Moore. I play the Doctor in fan series Doctor Who Velocity. You're listening to The Legend of the Traveling Tardis radio show.
Now on Amazon.com. War Calls, Love Cries, a Civil War novel by Mark Berry. Isaac Wells is an innocent farm boy living in upstate New York. His dreams are shattered by a treacherous brother and the onset of a devastating civil war. War Calls and Love Cries is a fast-moving historical narrative. It is an emotional roller coaster ride and a riveting must-read book that you will think about and talk about for a long time to come. War Calls and Love Cries is the kind of book you will cherish for a lifetime. On Amazon.com today.
Who's who, what's hot and what's not. 2019 saw some amazing new creative talents, and now you can peek behind the scenes at the hottest indie creative artists in this year's edition of 25 Hottest Indie Authors, Artist Advocates 2019 magazine. Published by the renowned And I Thought Ladies, this is a one-of-a-kind look into the brightest rising stars in the creative universe. Get yours today at magcloud.com and at andwethought.com.
This is Cosplay Michael with the Hanging Out Club show. I want to tell you about my friends at Embellish Effects in Orlando, Florida. They've got makeup, costumes, and props for all of your costume needs. And the team at Embellish Effects is helpful and friendly. Embellish Effects is one of my favorite places, and I know it will be yours too. I'll see you there. Or go to embellisheffects.com. And remember, cosplay is for everyone.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling Tardis radio show. My name is Christian Basel, and remember, cosplay is for everyone, and cosplay is not consent. We want to make sure that we get that word out from Cosplay Michael. You want to check out our friends at Embellish FX. They are, honestly, I think they're, if I'm not mistaken, hanging with team, they are the only official cosplay store in Orlando, Florida. They are actually in downtown Orlando. You got to check out. I can't even explain it. If you're a cosplayer, they've got something for you. And I actually hardly cosplay. I was looking for something that spirit gum because Charles, I actually cosplay one, and you'll laugh at me about this. I actually cosplayed once in my life. I know it's impossible. I did Rimmer.
Oh.
Don't laugh too hard. I did a Klingon for quite a few years.
I love the Klingon. I saw that. That was awesome, man. But I just wanted Rimmer, and I had to find the spirit gum, and I found it at Embellish FX. They've got everything for you. So if you're cosplaying, yeah.
My main cosplay a couple of years ago, I had this wonderful leather jacket. It really looked a lot like Chris's leather jacket, and so I said, I am cosplaying that moment between the War Doctor and Christopher Eccleston where he decides to really let himself go.
He's had a few Star Wars churros at Disney and out there. I like the red. Well, everybody, welcome back there, and I'm just making myself hungry now. Charles, you had you had something you wanted to discuss with Gary, and then I asked you the question. So whichever you want to take, go for it first.
I was going to say that I disagree with the concept of the show's bleeding fans, but I kind of don't. But I don't think it has anything to do with Jodie. Indeed, I think we've more than made up for any fans who are lost because they were butthurt about the change of gender with women fans, which is fantastic. So I think what is actually bleeding fans, though, is these year-plus delays between seasons, which has been going on for quite a while, and it really hurts the show.
Amen. Testify.
If you could knock out 22 episodes a year when your budget was 1/10 what it is now, maybe we should go back to that.
No, what makes me mad was when Russell T. Davies and Julie Gardner were in charge of this show, they were pumping out Doctor Who, Torchwood, and the Sarah Jane Adventures all in a row, and they never once skipped a year. Never once.
No, I'm sorry.
Well, except for
correct you. The gap year with David Tennant, but they still got 4 episodes out.
Exactly. We still got those
some
episodes.
of the best episodes, too, that they can focus on.
Yeah, he did that voluntarily, though, you got to remember, because they wanted to hand over and they had some other things going on at the studio.
Well,
So it was.
I think that the gap year idea should have been stolen by the subsequent producers. I'll leave it at that.
I think it's a combination. I agree. I think writing of the show, general writing, multiple breaks. It could certainly handle one break, but we've had so many.
Yeah. And split seasons, that just killed Series 7. It just killed it.
Okay, if we're talking about this, guys, this is my plan. If Chibnall is actually giving a year off, what he should be doing is parading Jodie all over the continent, all over the countries, all over the world. She should be going to San Diego. She should be going to MegaCon. She should be going to New York City Comic Con. If you really want to impress those fans who are kind of sitting on the wall going, I'm not exactly sure, I think the best way to do this is to send Jodie on a world tour, go to every convention, get to know the people, get their confidence back, get their confidence up if they're still questioning it. And then when she comes back in 2020, now she's got an army of audiences that she reached out to. She made them feel better and going like, listen, you know what? This is going to be
And she's amazing at that, by the way.
And she's amazing at that. And why they're not doing it, this could be the year that they could have pushed it out there, because I remember even when Capaldi was on break, they were doing videos of him in New York City. They were doing tours around, other
around
countries.
the world. They
Around
went to
South America.
They went to South Korea. Yeah, and they stopped all of that.
Me personally, though, I don't think it was Chibnall's call. I think it was some idiot up on floor 6 who thought, okay, we're going to do it this way, blah, blah, blah. And that's the way it is.
The bean counter going, no.
But
I
to
can
get
agree
to...
with you,
Sorry, but to get to the question that you asked me before the break, because we're running out of time.
Very sorry.
All day.
What was that question? Would the Valuard be?
Would the Valuard be a good retort or a good enemy for Jodie? Because I have a counterpoint, and I want to bring that up at the end. Unfortunately, that's going to actually talk about one of my other favorite renegades that I wanted to bring back up.
Yeah, would the Valuard be a good enemy to Jodie? Yes, absolutely. That's a no-brainer. You've got light and dark, so that would be fantastic. The problem is I don't think he can exist in this new timeline, so I'm not sure that he does. But we sort of, if we can get the Master back, I'd say we'll sort of have a faux substitute there for that, because they're very much the yin and yang of each other as well. So
I think Missy would be good to take on Jodie. I mean, there's the yin and yang.
Yeah. Copycat.
My show. Everything is mine. Everybody. If I lick it, it's mine. There.
Anyway, so yeah, I think it's a great idea. I'm just not sure how you would explain it. But has that ever been a problem?
No, I don't think made the Master. You could cut him apart, mail him to every part of the cosmos. He'd still come back like Jason Voorhees.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, you said since Time of the Doctor, it's been we're in a new timeline for Matt Smith. So anything prior to that is just done, blanked out of existence, or
maybe.
Because I mean, Capaldi referred back to like his face when he's all, I chose this face, or I've seen this face before. So I mean, I think there's remnants of it, and as long as there's a memory, you could remember somebody back. They've shown that in the show before too. So there's a million ways you could bring the Valeyard back, I think.
I'm going to say this because, as funny as it sounds, we're running out of time, and I desperately want to geek out with you guys. We should have an outtakes, like a three-hour run over here. But I do want to talk about Jodie, and there was one character, and this was in Rosa, that I thought was going to happen, especially this person being locked up in Storm Cage. I really think Jodie's alter ego should be the monk.
I would love the monk to come back. That would be amazing.
I will explain why. Because if she's going to be happy-go-lucky, I want the monk to tear her apart.
Yeah.
And the monk, if you've heard the 8th Doctor series, where the monk has grabbed the Doctor by his core and squeezed hard, just imagine Jodie being in that situation where she can't. Well, the monk going, wipe that smile off your face, kind of.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That would be awesome. And
the only Time Lords I think that can survive though is the ones who engage the watch technique that the Master used to survive the Time War. And so, as we talk about these other enemies, I hope some of them did that, but it's hard to say.
Ronnie.
Yeah, we'll get to all those guys later on in there. But, gentlemen, thank you for making this a wonderful success. I still want to continue to geek out. You guys are amazing. Everybody who's been listening, you guys are amazing, too. Thank you for joining us. I hope you learned a lot for people who may not be familiar with the character, and I hope you have a better appreciation for the character who may or may not come back over here.
And if you get a chance to meet Michael Jason, do it.
Yes, please. Yes, wonderful. Gary, tell us a little bit about Nerdrotic.com and where people can find you.
Oh, well, you could find me at nerdrotic.com or on YouTube. You just search Nerdrotic, and on Twitter at Nerdrotics.
And Charles, tell me a little bit about Space Javelin to the fans and where they can find you.
It's a roundup. It's kind of an Apple-centric roundup, although we do talk about the other big tech companies a lot, especially their fails. And you can find it at spacejavelin.com.
Gotcha. And everybody knows where to find Brian Burress, better known as Dr. Freedom, on YouTube. And he, when you're talking about Doctor Who news, he's always dropping an episode on YouTube. So you definitely want to subscribe and check him out, because if there's a new piece of Doctor Who news, he's going to bring it to you. Am I right, Brian?
Oh, yeah.
And all these links will be in the description on this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for joining us. We hope you had a great time as much as we did. Now, a lot of you have been asking, and I apologize. As you notice, when we close the show, a song has been playing. A lot of people are going like, wait a minute, I thought my channel changed because I was listening to your podcast, it ended, and then all of a sudden a song came on. No, we want to introduce you. The Hanging With team there? No? Okay. If you check out the Hanging With web show, Indie Music Spotlight, you're going to hear all these music, all these musicians, all these up-and-coming artists, including people like Tuvok, Tim Russ. He's actually sent music to the Hanging With team, and they played him. He's actually a musician,
cool.
Tim Russ.
Yeah.
When he used to play cons.
Yes. So
it was just in the Orville.
But check us all out. Check out Nerdrotic. Check out the Space Javelin. Check out the Hanging With show. Check out wherever you listen to us, the Legend of the Traveling Tardis radio show. I want to thank you all for joining us. We're done, but let me introduce you to what you're going to be listening to in just a moment. It's tonight's song is brought to you by the Vicks, the 4-man band out of Pittsburgh. And the name of this, there you go. And the name of the song is Proud. So Hanging With team, take us out. Thank you, folks. Always listen and become part of the legend.
The house turned sideways, not even shy as the light sneaks by the door. I rarely bet because the odds play mind games, but I know she laughed because we've gone through this before. Last week was kind of strange, you were frozen, couldn't get out from beneath the ice. But now your bags are gone and I'm just hoping you'd have a change of thought after the night. You want more from the world than what you've noticed. Perhaps you've had a different point of view. But it's not loud, won't blame yourself, 'cause you're too proud, you're too proud, you're too proud. A foolish call driven by the candlelight allows the absence in my ears to take control until I drown. There's a certain kind of hold you have wrapped onto me still. Can it be that you're in trouble, 'cause you're nowhere to be found? You want more from the world than what you've noticed. Perhaps you've had a different point of view. Scream, but it's not loud, won't blame yourself, 'cause you're too proud, you're too proud, you're too proud. But kept your secrets covered in hopes that you would get straight. But oh, you've hid your fears from the